Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Level X Podcast. Man, I was missing you guys, man. Of course, this is David.
My name is Jesus.
And today we have an action-packed filled with pure knowledge today, Jesus. Now, tell them what we're going to be discussing today.
We're going to be discussing nothing but the latest and greatest. But before we get into that, you goofy goober, this episode is sponsored by Instant Web Celeb. Instant Web Celeb has been assisting to revolutionize the online social world and has helped countless customers rank higher in status and fame across multiple platforms. Optimize and market your social media page with Instant Web Celeb today. Go check them out on Instagram, Facebook. Go visit their website. And if you do purchase anything from their site, make sure to use our special code LevelX. That's LVLX for a 10% discount.
10%, guys, 10%. But besides that, we are going to be discussing pure knowledge, of course, like we said. Now, I am going to be discussing, since we did finish our last books, thank the Lord Jesus. Yes. We did finish our last books, but since we've been discussing them for the last 2 weeks, we didn't want to bore you guys.
You've been discussing it for the last 2 weeks. Let's not get it twisted. I discuss a new book every week because that's how I do.
But you do read small books. But I was going to say, I did finish my book. You finished your last book as well. Mm-hmm. But this week we are actually reading a new book. And what's that book?
Now, currently we're reading The Search. Like you guys know me.
Well, give him the title. Give him the author.
Guys, you know me. I don't know the author, of course, but
God damn it. I know the damn everything all the time. Basically, The Search by John Battelli or Battel. John Battel. Either or. I don't. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize, like always. But let them know what that book is about. Basically,
it pretty much. Well, if you're an online user, you're familiar with the little search box on Google, on Yahoo, on eBay. Things. Pretty much, it focuses in on that search box, and it talks about how all the information that's gathered through those search queries can be utilized for many different purposes. I'm not that far into it yet, but so far has already touched on several aspects such as artificial intelligence, as well as looking at the human footprint.
Well, we're not giving the entire summary. That's next week, man.
Well, you want me to tell them what it's about, and that's pretty much what it's about. How you can use those search results to really, pretty much that researching into what people want.
So we're gonna be discussing that book next week.
Like Michael Phelps said, man, let's just dive right into it. So, David, what book did you read in this past week, and what can you tell us about it, man?
All right, man. So this week, I'm not going to be discussing a book. I'm actually going to be discussing an interesting article I ran across. For all you lovely birds, I know it is the summer, so you guys are going to be going on a lot of dates, hopefully. If you guys are in your Tinder grind, you guys are going to be going on a lot of dates, especially since all the girls are back home. But this article is basically, this guy summarizes it after going over 100 dates. He basically summarized his rules of the number one things you guys should go for, or you guys should make for yourselves when going on these first dates. What are you going to be discussing today, Jesus? And please don't bore us with your long, horrible summaries.
I'm going to be discussing a book, but let's get right into it, man. What can you tell us about the article?
All right, well, whatever book that is. But let's dive into the rules of first dates. And these rules are kind of to make them go well for you, for the girl. And basically, the number one thing before we get into this, it does say it should be about the two of you at the end of the day, not about the activity. Because a lot of guys get hung up about, what should I do? Where should I go? Dates are to see if you're compatible with that person at the end of the day. Now, compatible, I know sometimes you guys just want to bang, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, if you want to actually like this girl, you go on dates basically to see if you're compatible. But these are the rules. Let us know what you guys think. If you guys don't approve, or if you guys have your own rules, have better rules, hit us up with those comments or hit us up on Twitter. We would like to know. First rule is keep it short. Now, as you guys know, first date shouldn't be something that takes a lot of time, because who has time for that, man? You know, for instance, don't go on a baseball game. Those shits are like 3+ hours. So that's a bad move right there. No baseball dates. Keep it short, because let's just say you go on 5 dates during the week. You know, your time should be valuable to you. maybe the girl's time is valuable to her as well. So keeping it short is your number one rule, just to basically weed out the girls that aren't compatible to you. The second rule is keeping it simple. A lot of guys, like I said in the beginning, stress out about, oh, what should I do? Where should I take her? How much money should I spend? Dude, keep it simple. If you're going to go on all these dates, they're going to be quite expensive. Girls are quite expensive. So, you have multiple options when you want to keep it cheap and simple. You have the park, for instance. You have a coffee date. You have ice cream, a walk in the park, whatever. As long as you guys keep it simple, that's going to reduce how much money you're going to be spending or how much time you're actually going to be spending with the girl as well.
Now, you personally, David, I know, ice cream is cool. Coffee dates, that's simple. But let's say a park. Will a girl find that tacky, in your opinion, if you, take her to a park? I know necessarily girls don't want to be, wine and dined, at least not all of them, but maybe is a walk in the park a little too cheap, or is it a little bit too tacky?
No, I think just because I say simple, it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be interesting. You guys could be trying out a new coffee dates or new places
bikes,
to try.
Perhaps?
Just something new, man. Because in my experience, I think that girls like being or going places that they're cozy in.
Oh, okay.
Get some in that good vibe going.
Mm-hmm.
So you should definitely take girl on a date. If you guys have trouble around your area, just enter this query into Google, talking about Google. You could put Yelp cozy bar Arizona or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
You could do something like that. You can coziest bars or best bars. Just something where they're known for their coziness, or they're known to have great customer experience, because obviously you want that alone time, but you also want the girl not to feel agitated by the damn waitress or waiter.
Oh, okay.
So choosing a cool, unique spot will give you something to talk about also on the first date. If you make it more interesting in the eyes of the girl, you'll naturally have more fun if you're discovering a new place together. Right. So definitely build those experiences together. Moving on to the next rule is the first 5 minutes are going to be awkward. And that's okay. You guys are both nervous. It's going to be expected. Here are the things that you should do to make the start of the date smoother. First of all, you should arrive 5 minutes early and have something to do. If you're at a bar, order a drink. You can look at your phone, whatever. Sit near the door so you guys can basically greet, or you can greet her in the beginning of the date. Second, when she arrives, stand up, smile at her, and wave. This guy goes on to say, I've never had a problem recognizing a date from a dating app. You'll be able to tell by the way she enters the room. Third, give her a brief hug hello. I found this to be the best greeting, and if you decide to do it before and go for it with confidence, it will save you both from deciding whether the person wants to shake, hug, or wave uncomfortably. I think this is key, because I think a lot of guys, and including me, man, sometimes you get into that awkward, well, should I hug her? Should I just shake her hand? It gets a little bit awkward, but as a man, you should be leading for everything. So as leading into how to introduce yourself by hugging, I think that's key. Also have a sense of humor about it. Act as if the awkwardness is an inside joke between the two of you. You aren't Daniel Craig. Unless you are, then please, will you mentor me? It says you don't have to be James Bond. Acknowledging the awkwardness will ease both of your nerves. And then lastly, ask her what she's been up to that day. This is an open-ended question, and you can continue the conversation based on how she responds. And this is cool, man, because I actually read this somewhere as well when we were back in college, because we are on summer break, guys, thank God as well. But we were in college. A lot of people were like, well, how should I open, or how should I continue the conversation? By asking either how was her day, or what have you been up to today? It kind of like an open-ended question gets her kind of, how do you say that word, invested into the conversation. Okay, so let's continue with the real lessons, or the real rules. Make it your mission to find out about her. During the date, think of yourself as a sociologist who's trying to learn about this particular human being, explore her world, figure out what she likes, what she hates, how she got to this point in life. Let her talk. The best things I've learned is to ask open-ended questions. This means avoiding yes or no questions. Back when I was younger, man, I read this book, right? I think it was actually an article, and it was an article about how to become a better listener or a leader or some bullshit. But even to this day, I still remember that book, man. And I wish I knew what book it was, but there was a chapter about becoming a better, or how to ask better questions. And that was the key the key thing is like never ask yes or no questions when talking to like someone. And like in my past relationships, I've always used that. Now the book goes more into depth, and I forget like the like the little small details, but I know that whenever you're answering a question, especially when you're wanting to know someone about, or wanting to know more about someone, there's like 5 questions that you start off with, or the 5 words that you start off with when answering, when questioning someone is like, oh, the why, the what, the who, how, and some other shit. But I always use that, man. I think that's, me and my personal experience, I always use that, and I think it's good to always keep in the back of your mind.
So it's like, oh, when someone asks you, oh, when someone says, I went to the park with someone, you're like, oh, when did you go, or like who did you go with, stuff like that, or
well, the book gives it like a better way, instead of saying like straight up, oh, who do you go with, like
that's pretty much the essence of it. Like,
It kind of worded it different, but yeah, it's basically the sum of it. It's like, like guys are, man, we're kind of like sometimes lazy, so we don't really like putting in the effort,
right?
Especially when you're talking to a girl and she just likes fucking talking, and you're just like, I'm not really, that doesn't really interest me,
right?
So I think the best way in my experience is using that technique of asking open-ended questions, just so you can let the girl keep on talking. But in her eyes, since you're asking good questions, it looks like you're really engaged, but it's a trick of mine that I use, that I ask open-ended questions.
Yeah.
And
but I feel like you still have to be somewhat engaged, because I feel girls are really good at picking up on like that subtle shit.
Well, I mean,
they're like, this guy's just asking.
Well, I mean, definitely if you're like on the first date. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're like in a fucking 4-year relationship, and this is like her fucking 500th time talking to you about the subject,
about the same exact thing, the same story.
Some shit happened at work. You're not gonna fucking want.
I used to do that as a joke in like my past relationships, where I would bring up the same story, like,
sure, bitch.
Disrespect.
Right. Next rule. Avoid asking why questions. This can sound accusatory. Is that how you fucking pronounce it? Accusatory. This can sound accusatory. Instead of why don't you eat meat, ask what was it that cost you to become a vegetarian. See, it's the small things, and I like that this guy knows his shit. Like, this guy gets slayed, you can tell. It is a small thing, but it makes the conversation flow better, and it will make the girl feel more comfortable. See, and it's more than just, back to my thing I was saying, is that I think it's more than just the fucking asking the question with the right intent, like, oh, what, why, like, yeah, any like little Dumbo can use it, but it's kind of like how you question it, or how you ask a question, that it shows more like, oh, this guy knows his shit.
And this guy's just like, what is it called? He has social awareness.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're going into the last three rules. The first one is keep your posture open. A huge part of making someone comfortable in a conversation is your body language. I think this is important. If you guys haven't read the Gorilla Mindset, it talks about posture a lot as well. But I think all types of books talk about posture. So basically, your body language, girls are fucking geniuses when it comes to that. They can fucking sense it right off the bat.
Yeah.
A good rule of thumb is to always have your body open. Back when I was getting into like pickup and all this shit, I read about pickup, but I never actually done it. Besides this year, is that there was this technique where you basically, and it talked about a lot about posture and shit. Basically, it says that you should always stand, or whenever you're standing or whenever you're sitting down, have your body open. And kind of think about it like how Jesus, whenever you see like a picture of him, all his like, most of his position or body language is open. And that makes you comfortable, because you're like, oh, well, he's acceptable.
Yeah.
Like, he accepts you. So I kind of see that as my role, my little technique as well. Like, oh, kind of like,
look like Jesus.
Kind of copy like Jesus's body language.
Yeah, I counted to that because I've heard that kind of the way you position yourself. I mean, I've always been like a promoter of like, sitting up straight, but I hear like it doesn't really matter how your arms are as long as you look comfortable. I'm not sure where I heard that, but pretty much it doesn't even matter about body posture. It just matters about whether you look comfortable in the situation.
Well, I don't know, man. I've only heard about the open position all throughout my readings.
Yeah.
And like you can even see it when you're like seeing Oprah, for example, interviewing people. She's never like crossing her arms per se, and her job is to get people open enough or comfortable enough so they can open up to her.
Yeah.
And you can see her in all her interviews. Her posture says everything. And like I said, her whole job is to make people comfortable enough to open up to her.
Oh man, I didn't even know you watched Oprah.
Well, I watched some of them, like for example, like the Pharrell Williams one. That one was really dope. And then lastly is Who Pays. Now this may vary based on your financial situation, of course, but of course, as a guy, I think if you're inviting the girl out, you should definitely pay. It should be your duty to pay. But like I said, at least go into there expecting to pay, and it shouldn't be a big burden. If you're doing simple, small dates, they shouldn't be too expensive either, since you're not going anywhere fancy. Oftentimes, a girl will say, "Oh, we can split it." At which point, you can say, "No, it's my pleasure." After that, if she insists on splitting it, you can let her pay half. But it shouldn't worry you about too much about that. So definitely don't worry about it. Now, lastly, this is after the date. Offer to walk her to her car or wait for an Uber with her. If you had fun, tell her you had fun and that you like to see her again. You'll probably get nervous wondering whether or not you should kiss her. My thinking on this is as follows. So this is the last thing I am going to end with. On the first date, don't kiss her unless you're sure that you should. On the second date, kiss her unless you're sure you shouldn't. And his reasoning is that he's been with lots of girls, of course, who simply don't like kissing on the first date, no matter how they feel about a guy. One of them was when I was brand new to dating apps and I kissed her anyway. It was really uncomfortable and clearly not the right time. Thankfully, we went out again and could laugh about it and eventually ended up having much better kisses. So those are his rules. If you guys agreed with them, you guys can let us know. If you guys have better rules, you can let us know as well. And it's cool how this guy doesn't mention to be like alpha or be, all this shit. So just kind of be yourself, and those are just like lessons that you can add on above yourself. So yeah, man. So what book did you read that it was so secretive?
Well, since it was since I finished my book like on Sunday or something, I only had like 4 days to read a book, so I chose a super short one, and it's a pretty popular one as well. It's called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Man, I don't know if you guys have ever read The Little Prince, but it was very reminiscent of The Little Prince. Now, I'm sure those two books The Alchemist and The Little Prince are considered classics, but I found them to be very similar in that I'm going to start off with the critique of the book. The plot line is very weak, guys. There's not a lot to...
And for you guys listening, you know how this guy likes spoiling that damn book, so spoiler alert probably.
Spoiler alert probably. But it's pretty much, like I said, the plot line is very weak. It just consists of this young boy. That's what they call him. They don't even give him a name. He's just the young boy or the young shepherd, and he enjoys traveling. But one day he keeps having this reoccurring dream. So he goes to see a gypsy, and she obviously does like some palm reading or whatever, and tells him that he has to go to the pyramids to find his treasure. That's where I'll leave it at as far as plotline goes, because I actually don't want to spoil it. So he basically pretty much just has to go to the pyramids, and it's from point A to point B, a little travel plot where he obviously meets people and does these different things that, of course, teaches him lessons in life. This book, to me, the way I at least interpreted it was the boy's pretty much an entrepreneur. He's living this comfortable life like any entrepreneur would, 9-to-5 job, when he suddenly realizes his destiny, that he has to actually do something other than his life because that's what will fulfill him. This book does touch on a lot of pretty much subjects, and it gives a lot of good advice. It has all these proverbs that are pretty much little gems that anyone can take in. But this book, in my opinion, will resonate most with entrepreneurs, the people who are trying to reach their destiny. If you've ever also read The Way of a Superior Man, that book also touches on finding your path in life and finding your mission in life. So this book also touches on that a lot, because this young boy, pretty much, they keep telling him that everyone in their life has a mission, and the key is to follow your dreams. So it goes into how people should follow their dreams, and it also talks about fear. A lot of people don't like following their destiny or going for their dreams because of fear of failure, fear of other people, of what other people think. But I'm gonna just touch on key points that I really enjoyed in this book, and one of those was the principle of favorability, and that's pretty much beginner's luck. Now, I can relate to this because I don't currently have like a job, but I do like try to do some online work to get money. And at first, I did have a lot of beginner's luck. Like it started off really well for me. I was making a pretty good amount of money at first, and then after a while it slowed down. But this book does touch on that. The book says how whenever you start something, there's a force that wants you to realize your destiny. So it kind of whets your appetite with a taste of success. And I found that to be very true because in anything I've done, really, like also, going out to approach random girls. At first, I was getting like relative success. I was having a good time. I even went on this little instant date, and that was pretty cool. So I think, well, at least what the book says is that the world will give you this success at first because it'll basically tell you, yes, this is the right direction to head in. Like this will be worthwhile. So I thought that was pretty cool. Another one was Good Omens. So the Good Omens, pretty much they'll guide you in life whenever you're doing something. If you see something good happening, it's pretty much the universe telling you, yes, keep heading in this direction. They use this little example here of a man who was pretty much a miner, and he was looking for this gold emerald, or what the hell, gold emerald? But he was looking for an emerald. Obviously, emeralds are green. I'll read it here. The miner was about to give up, and right at the point, if you were to examine just one more stone, just one more, he will find his emerald. So, since the miner had sacrificed everything to his destiny, the old man decided to become involved. The old man, obviously God. He transformed himself into a stone that rolled up to the miner's foot. Before a dream is realized, the soul of the world tests everything that was learned along the way. It does this because it is evil, but so that it is not evil, but so that we can, in addition to realizing our dreams, master the lessons we've learned as we move towards that dream. So life will test you, man. If you're heading in the right direction, you'll be thrown all these obstacles. Why that is, in my opinion, is because so we can at least learn to appreciate success. If you have more struggles, you'll appreciate reaching your destination even that much more. So from that story, I just gained that, right before you reach success, you'll experience a lot of struggle. And right before you're about to give up, that's when you have to push yourself the most, because that's when you'll actually break through. Another one that I found here was you got to do whatever you're going to do for the right reasons. The book says that these people, they were seeking the treasure of their destiny without actually wanting to live out their destiny. So in my eyes, I think we have to obviously, hope to obtain our goals, but we have to kind of appreciate the journey as well, because that journey will pretty much help you to better improve yourself as well. So you got to learn to appreciate the journey, man. Sometimes there's certain things you can only learn by trying new experiences. So especially for me, I read a lot of books, and if you guys read a lot of books as well, a lot of the times, well, you'll just be reading week after week after week, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like I'm learning so many things. But at the same time, there's only some things you can learn by actually experiencing them. For example, you might read a lot of seduction books, and you're like, oh, well, I understand women. I understand how to talk to them. But in reality, if you're not really applying that knowledge and actually going out to talk to people, then you're never really going to master those skills, especially for like communication. You're not going to learn how to communicate if you don't communicate. You can only read so much. So finally, this will be short because the book was pretty much super short. But to me, the title of the book is called The Alchemist because pretty much the book is about transformation. The main character, the boy, he does transform throughout the book. But the significance of the title is because the book is all about transformation. The message it was trying to send is be as good as you can be today, but eventually you will have to become something different but better. And if you know anything about alchemy, if you watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because the original was terrible, Alchemist, they can pretty much shift any kind of element into anything else. So in the books, it was like transforming lead into gold. So that pretty much is just symbolic of becoming a better person, because people change, man. Whether that's for the worse or the better, people will change. But if you do it right, you should be transforming into better. Yourself should be transforming from lead to gold. You should be always improving. One of the characters does say, this is why alchemy exists, so that everyone will search for his treasure, find it, and then want to be better than he was in his former life. Lead will play its role until the world has no further need for it, and then lead will have to turn itself into gold. That's what alchemists do. They show that when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us will become better too. So that's The Alchemist for you guys. If you guys are entrepreneurs, if you guys aren't entrepreneurs, if you guys aren't, I don't think this book will be that interesting, because although it does have, like I said, all these proverbs, it has a weak plot line. The book was mostly meant, like The Little Prince, to give kind of this new perspective on life, as well as your mission. So I wouldn't recommend this book to everyone. Personally, I would give it a 7.8 out of 10 rating, because it wasn't necessarily like super interesting, but it did have a lot of gems in there that are helpful. So if you guys want to go ahead and read The Alchemist, go ahead and read it. One more time, my book is called The Alchemist. It's by Paulo Coelho. And David, one more time, your article.
And that is basically the rules to make your first dates go amazing. But also, I know that your author is definitely amazing when it comes to like other books that he has written that are also as great.
Yeah, I recommend any authors we recommend.
Articles.
Authors.
Don't be
Authors.
stupid.
Authors we recommend, check out their other works. For example, I read Malcolm Gladwell last week, and I know he has some other great books as well. So definitely, it goes for anything, man. If you like any work that anyone makes, check out their other work, man, because I'm sure they have great libraries. We will be posting the links on our Twitter. That's LevelXPodcast on Twitter. But yeah, man, that was my book. Very interesting. It's not that long, 92 pages.
So another horrible summary again from Jesus, like always, guys. But if you guys are trying to forget what you heard today, I did run across this amazing article of this. Basically, this article says 15 excellent bartender approved bottles of booze you can grab for under $25. Now, if you guys are, into bars and everything and drinking, you guys know that going to the bars is not cost efficient, guys. If you guys are trying to turn up and drink and get drunk, the bar isn't the best way to do it. That's newbie style. But this is basically a list of all the bottles that bartenders approve. Now, the list, ranges from like tequilas, I think, to gin, to vodka. So there's a bunch of cool shit for, if you guys are trying to start like a home bar. I am going to post the link on our Twitter account. So definitely go check it out. It's an amazing list. Now, some of them, I don't even think I ever even drank any of these.
But yeah, it's an amazing list, supposedly.
But this is, there is a rating here and over like 300 shares. So definitely worth it. And I was reading the Google book, and it says how this kind of ties into our Google thing. Because Jesus is trying to basically
Undermine
the list.
Undermine.
But basically how Google page ranks, it's like if there's a lot of shares coming from other sites, or there's different shares on the site, Google ranks it higher on the list, because the more people share it, the more it's like, okay, well, it's more valuable. Like, and if it's more popular, it can be wrong. It can be not valuable, right? So that's how they rate it. That's kind of how I rate my articles as well. If there's like a lot of likes or there's a lot of shares, I know it's a good article to definitely trust. So definitely go check out the article. I will link into our Twitter page. But jumping into that from there, I am gonna get into this cool article that I actually ran across, and it is on an article about the life lessons from Louis C.K. If you guys don't know, he is a good comedian. I'm not gonna say amazing, because this guy's gonna be like, I guess he's amazing.
He's amazing. I like Louis C.K., man.
Whatever, no one cares about you, man.
You don't like Louis C.K.?
But he has been called the undisputed king of comedy, Louis C.K., man.
But he's only a good comedian.
He's one of the most popular and prolific comics today, along with being a successful actor and writer. Now, I don't know if he's amazing, because I haven't seen all his other shit, and I can compare him to other people. So I'm not gonna be a hype beast or whatever. Anyways, but basically this article was written this year, and it's cool because it kind of runs down over his life lessons, and I think he has some dope life lessons. Sometimes I run across his quotes, and I'm like, damn, this guy does have pure, like, this guy seems like super knowledgeable. But I am gonna share his life experiences or his life lessons with you guys. Today, I wanted to share so much knowledge with you guys and see what you guys thought about it. One of his life lessons is when a person tells you that you hurt them, you don't get to decide that you didn't. Now, this one was key, especially because You know, a lot of people have different perspectives on life, and at the end of the day, you can't control how they. Even if you don't think that you hurt them, like how can you tell them any different if that's their perspective on shit. I forgot who the fuck I was watching, but or maybe I was watching over Twitter or whatever, but I think it was this guy, and he fucking was dating this girl, and they started going out. They broke up or whatever, and then all of a sudden that girl, I think there's a terminology or a word for this, but then all of a sudden the girl shifts her entire mentality because she hates the guy now, and now all she can remember from the relationship is just pure like dishonesty, all of this bad shit in the relationship, when most of the relationship was actually good. And I think it kind of ties to this, man, because it's like at the end of the day, yeah, I'm pretty sure the relationship wasn't all bad, because then she wouldn't have stayed. But knowing girls, man, you're not gonna be able to like change her opinion or her perspective on you. Like at the end of the day, that's her shit. So it sucks for you. Next, self-love is a good thing, but self-awareness is more important. You need to go out once in a while, go, I'm kind of an asshole. I think this is like,
What? Is that the full quote?
yeah.
Oh, okay, because it looked like you kind of like, all right.
And I think that's important, man. Like, I think that's the one key is to, I think in order for you to get into like self-development and shit, it's like self-awareness is more important than self-love, because it's crazy because this guy is basically telling my story, right? Like through everything. Basically through this quote, first you have to be aware of who you are. If you don't know who you are, how are you going to be able to love yourself? Type of shit. So definitely just become more aware. How I did that shit is basically, either if you had to go out and do some shit, or buy a notebook so you can fucking write on it, or be in your room. How I started it was that I just basically sat down one day and I was like, all right, what do I like? And then I just started doing what I like, what I wrote down or whatever. Now at the time I was like, well, I kind of like music and I kind of like movies, but I'm not really knowledgeable in that. So then I kind of just dove into finding out more about, all right, well, what type of movies should I read, or what type of movies should I look into, or what type of music should I listen to. Now, since both of them are like, they're vast in how much content there is, I decided to go with movies. So nowadays I just watch movies and just, it's cool. It's a cool little thing. And I mean, I enjoy it. I love doing that shit on my own.
Do you think most people will only realize their flaws once like they go through some kind of painful experience?
Nah, man. Yeah. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't know. But next quote, it's like I think I'm gonna end it off with this, man. He says, "I've learned from experience that if you work harder at it and apply more energy and time to it and more consistency, you get a better result. It comes from the work." I think this is important, man, and I'm gonna end it off with this. Drop mic. That, man, at the end of the day, the more harder you work, the more luck you're gonna get. A lot of guys, and even all the books that I've read, it does say that luck plays a role in shit. But at the end of the day, like, you better your odds by working harder at it. With everything in life, man, with girls, if you work harder at it, obviously you're gonna get more girls. If you fucking work harder at it, making money, you're gonna get more fucking money. I know with me and my personal experience, I don't think I would have had. I think I've had like at least more success with girls this year in this fucking 5 months, 6 months, whatever, than I had with all my entire life with dating. I feel like now I'm more in control with my dating life rather than letting a girl choose. Okay, well, yeah, he's acceptable. I'll give you a chance. I feel like now I'm the leader in the sense that, oh, well, if I want a girl, I actually have control myself to go pursue her rather than, oh, wait for that just one girl and shit. Like, I don't think I believe in that shit where I can only like one girl now, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna wait for just that specific girl. And then it also relates to work, man, to like money making and shit. Like, if you don't work hard at it, you're not gonna make money. Like, I remember in the beginning, we were having pretty good success, and then towards the middle, we weren't having any success at all, and we weren't even doing anything about it. So then there was no money coming in at one point. So as long as you work harder, you're gonna be making more money a day. And then, just basically put the effort, man. I think as long as you put the effort, like he said, consistency is key as well. And I think I learned that from YouTube. So yeah, man, just a bunch of knowledge. I'll link you guys to some of his quotes, or maybe I'll just quote him every one day throughout the entire one day of the week, every single day, just so you guys can soak in one quote of his per day. Yeah, I think I'll do that. But definitely, guys, follow us on our Twitter account, filled with knowledge, from sports to freaking to seduction, all types of shit on there. Follow us, LevelXPodcast, on our Twitter. Thank you guys so much for listening. Also for our sponsors as well, Instant Web Celeb. Follow them on their Instagram, Facebook, all that shit. We will see you guys next week.
Later. Hey guys, if you like this episode of the Level X Podcast, make sure to definitely leave a review. We are on iTunes, we are on SoundCloud, and we are on YouTube. You just search up Level X Podcast, and also leave a comment if you're on YouTube on what you liked, what you think we can improve on, anything you would like us to talk about. Also, if you have any questions, please email us at levelxpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to respond to you or even answer it on the show. Follow us on Instagram at Vincent Studios, VNCT Studios, for any updates. Also on Twitter at LevelXPodcast. We will definitely be posting on there, also responding to questions and any comments you guys might have. We will also be posting the books we talked about on this episode of the Level X Podcast on Twitter. We'll be posting the links on where you can purchase those books. So definitely check us out there. And thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys next week.